I swung open the barn door, expecting the usual. Check on my goats, maybe sweep some hay. Instead, I walked into a circus. A blinding ring light hit me square in the face. A woman in stilettos was fake milking a bucket nowhere near a cow. Some guy with a megaphone barked, "Pose like you're one with the dirt," while a drone buzzed too close to my rafters. And there, in the middle of it all, stood Lisa from the HOA, clipboard in hand, acting like she owned the place. My place. My barn, the one I built with my dad 15 years ago, using salvaged wood and more grit than cash. Now, it was a fashion shoot for folks who probably think hay grows in grocery aisles. I didn't say a word, just stood there, watching a model drape a frilly shawl over my saddle rack. That's when something in me snapped. Not just because they'd invaded my barn without asking. Not just because they called it community adjacent, like that made it theirs. It was the smugness, the absolute certainty that no one would push back. That's when I knew they were about to meet my manure wagon in. I had nothing left to lose. It started 2 days earlier. I noticed odd vans creeping around my property, which backs up to a walking trail in the HOA's turf. My barn's on my side of the fence, with private property, no trespassing signs clear as day. Apparently, those signs were in VY Seibel to Lisa's crew. By Friday morning, they'd turned my barn into a MOVY set, pinning fabric to the walls and setting up tripods. I thought maybe they were lost, so I walked up, introduced myself, and asked what was happening. That's when Lisa spun around. You could tell she was in charge, radiating that "I'm important and you're not" energy. She didn't bother with a hello, just flashed a smile like I was her errand boy and said, "Oh, good, you're here. Move those bales to the left." I blinked, asked again what was going on. She waved a paper in my face. "This is an official HOA event. Thanks for cooperating." I scanned the papera blurry photocopy of an HOA newsletter titled "Rustic Chic Comes to Suburbia." It claimed they'd secured a local barn for a lifestyle shoot. No signature, no mention of me, just their logo slapped on like a bad sticker. I told her there was no agreement. She smirked and said, "As an HOA board member, I make executive aesthetic decisions." I shot back, "This isn't aesthetics. It's my barn." She shrugged. "It's VY Seibel from the trail, so it's a shared VY Sewell asset." Shared VY Sewell asset? I didn't know what that meant, but it screamed trouble. I walked away before I lost my cool and started making calls. My neighbor Tom, a retired deputy, was Lee VYD. My cousin Sarah, a property lawyer, confirmed it was trespassing and offered to file charges. I told her to hold off. I had a better idea, one that involved a rusty old manure wagon I hadn't touched in years but kept ready, just in case. That night, I worked in the shed, tuning the wagon, checking the pressure lines, testing the spreader. It purred like a dream. The next morning, I played nice, heading to the barn like I was helping out. Lisa greeted me like I was her stagehand, asking me to clear hay because it clashed with the white theme. I nodded, but my cleaning was strategic. MOVYing bales to clear a path, plugging in an extension cord that reached my setup behind the barn, even sprinkling some scent to keep the goats away. No need for innocent casualties when the show started. By noon, the crew was in full swing. Lisa had hired 2 Instagram influencers who'd clearly never seen a farm. One tried feeding a chicken kale chips and shrieked when it pecked her manicure. A stylist fussed over lighting while a tech guy wrestled with the drone for a dynamic shot. Lisa stood in the center, glowing like she'd just invented agriculture, saying things like, "This barn will redefine HOA marketing." I checked my watch. Timing was everything. When Lisa yelled, "Quiet on set," I knew it was go time. She lined everyone up in the barn's entryway, the drone hovering above. Models posed, one on my saddle rack with a lace curtain, another leaning on a pitchfork like she'd tamed the Wild West. Lisa stood ready to take credit. When she shouted, "Roll cameras," I slipped behind a beam and flipped the switch. A low hum started. No one noticed. Then the hose hissed. The manure wagon, parked 20 feet back, was aimed straight at the open doors. 3 seconds later, a steaming arc of fertilizer blasted through the air, splattering the white rug Lisa had rolled out for ambience. Screams erupted. One model dove behind a bale. Another tripped into the goat pen. The drone swerved, crashed into the rafters, and sent hay tumbling like confetti. Lisa, hit by a second spray, screamed about lawsuits and bolted right into another blast. I stood there, arms crossed, watching the chaos unfold like a farmer admiring a well-plowed field. They want a rustic? I gave them the real deal. The smell lingered longer than their dignity. By the time the wagon sputtered out, the barn was a war zone where glamour went to die. Lisa's white blouse was a blotchy mess, like a tie-dye experiment gone wrong. The model in the goat pen sobbed, clutching a broken heel. The influencer wailed about her ruined lotion brand deal. The photographer yelled that his gear wasn't saw waterproof. I tipped my hat, grabbed the security camera's memory card, and strolled off like a gunslinger after a duel. That evening, I uploaded a short edit to a private group called HOA Horror Stories. No music, no commentary, just raw chaos titled Lisa's Rustic Shoot Gets a Country Bath. I expected a few laughs. By midnight, it had 70,000 VYUs and 1,000 comments. People love watching entitled folks meet their match VY, a high-velocity farm waste. I went to bed grinning, boots still faintly reeking. The next morning, my phone was a war zone. 5 voicemails, 2 urgent HOA emails, a letter taped to my mailbox. Lisa's voicemail was a barely contained rant, demanding an apology and damages. The HOA VP, Greg, wanted to talk neighborly. Some publicist named Jared claimed I'd defamed the photographer. I sipped coffee and watched the VY Deo's remixes dramatic music, foghorn dubs, memes of Lisa's manure-soaked face with captions like, "When you try to steal a barn, but the barn steals you." By noon, a local radio host was cackling about it live. I'd gone VY Ral, and Lisa was a national punchline. Then a guy in a cheap suit showed up, claiming to be HOA counsel, handing me a lawsuit for emotional trauma and unauthorized surveillance. I pointed out a typo in their paperwork and asked if he wanted to know how many cameras were recording him. He left fast. Sarah, my lawyer cousin, laughed at their claims, drafting a letter with photos of my signs and HOA bylaws pro VY-ing they had no jurisdiction. She called it a legal compost pile. Lisa didn't quit. She called an emergency HOA meeting, which someone probably mic'd from Lot 14 live-streamed. She wore sunglasses indoors, spinning the incident as an attack on HOA prestige. Someone yelled, "What about your fake photos?" And the room dissolved into laughter. The clip went VY Ral, with comments like, "Karma doesn't knock, it sprays." A reporter asked for my side. I showed her the forged newsletter, the footage, everything. The 6 p.m. news ran it. Farmer defends barn against HOA invasion, with a split screen of my commenter VYEW and Lisa slipping in goat muck. Lisa doubled down, filing complaints with the county, claiming my barn VY OLAT zoning with doctored photos of the spray. The inspector laughed, saying she'd filed 5 baseless claims that year. Neighbors started VY citing, sharing their own Lisa stories. Fines for wind chimes, gnome confiscations, swing set bans. The barn incident had cracked open years of resentment. At the next HOA meeting, the room was packed. Lisa tried to spin her tale, but the crowd wasn't VYing it. I showed a montage of her antics, ending with a manure spray. The room chanted, "Vote her out," and Lisa was ousted as president, Leah VYing in stunned silence. The neighborhood changed overnight. Greg, the new HOA leader, scrapped dumb rules and opened forums. People laughed again, lived again. But Lisa wasn't done. She announced a rebranding celebration to heal the community, planning a symbolic walk to my barn for a message of forgiveness. Forgiveness? I nearly choked. She rented a podium, caterers, a photographer, no animals allowed this time. I didn't plan to fight her with speeches. I had something better. The day came. Lisa, in a pastel suit, gave a speech about VY Sewell harmony and healing, never mentioning her trespassing. She led a small crowd down the trail to my fence. As she neared, she triggered my new motion sensor sprinklers. Not manure, just barn rainwater mixed with safe blue pond dye. Her suit turned turquoise, splotching like a bad art project. The crowd gasped and laughed. Lisa froze, mascara running, then stomped off, shoes squelching. The event collapsed. No one helped her clean up. That night, the HOA asked to name a new boundary rule after the incident. I suggested the defender rule. The barn went back to being a barn. The manure wagon retired under a tarp. A neighbor carved a plaque above the doors. Property of the people. It wasn't just revenge, it was a wake-up call. A community found its spine, and I'd accidentally lit the match. So what do you think? Was I wrong to hit back with a manure wagon, or did Lisa deserve every splatter? Should HOAs have any say over private land? Or is that just legalized bullying? And that blue sprinkler stunt, was it petty or pure genius? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're Team Farmer, and subscribe for more stories where entitlement meets its match.